The U.S. Supreme Court is allowing President Donald Trump to move forward with parts of his executive order on mail-in voting for the November midterm. In a 6-3 ordered issue yesterday, the justices said the states that sued have not yet been harmed by that order, and the judges who ruled on it exceeded their authority. Dion Nissenbaum is a senior reporter with Vote Beat. He's joining us to talk more about that opinion. Dion, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
So when you look at this order, the court is really allowing 3 sections of it to go into effect. I want us to talk about each of those sections, starting with what I like to call the citizenship list, right? And that's the list that gets sent out. Tell us what's happening there.
So this seems like the part of the provision that may go forward as easily. It's basically providing states with a list of people they say are eligible to vote. The court said there's no real issue here because the federal government isn't saying the states have to do anything with this list. It's basically provided to them for information to try and vet their rules to make sure only citizens vote. It's, to me, sort of the least important part of the court ruling because it doesn't, at this point, seem to have much material effect on what will happen in November.
That's why I picked let's talk about it first. We get that little one out the way. Let's get to the second part of that order, and it deals with the U.S. Attorney General. Talk to us about that section.
The Attorney General section?
Yes.
Which section?
I'm sorry. The section that says that basically federal agents are able to go ahead and look into investigating if there is voter fraud or people voting in federal elections illegally. Again, the court said that states are not impacted by that. The DOJ, forgive me, I said Attorney General there.
Sure. So this is sort of giving the Justice Department the legal provisions that it has to look into these issues. Again, this is another provision that sort of is keeping in place what's already there. Really, the meat of this gets to the question about the U.S. Postal Service and their role in the November election, which is sort of the most chaotic and uncertain part of the court ruling.
Yeah, this is the part that so many states took issue with, and that is going to allow the post office, the order says, to move forward with their plans to put in some rules when it comes to the election. Tell us about that.
This was sort of, it was a procedural move, as you said at the top here, because the court said that the states were premature in making their argument that they might be harmed by these changes. And while they were writing their opinion, the Postal Service issued these new rules. So now the issue is live, and actually just at the top of this hour, Democrats and the Democratic leader in the Senate issued a new court request that they stop these rules from taking effect. And what the rules would do is basically make the Postal Service a regulator of elections and allow them to block voters from getting absentee ballots if they're not on a pre-approved list and if the states don't meet certain requirements for the envelopes that they are being sent out in. So,
right. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So this is the heart of the matter. And in reality, the federal judges that are looking at this have already sort of concluded that this is unconstitutional. It seems like they're going to issue another preliminary injunction that could block them from taking effect anytime soon. And then it's going to go right back to the Supreme Court to debate this when we're just 70 days before an election.
The other thing I know that was interesting was those rules by the post office. Part of it that was allowed under this opinion is dealing with like the design of the envelopes and things of that nature. But some legal experts said they don't know if there's actually enough time because, as you pointed out, we're 70 days out from the election. I mean, in Texas, people have already been able to request those ballots.
That's exactly right. They're looking for a redesign, and you know, I was talking to election experts today, and they say this is going to have a real disproportionate effect on smaller and rural counties where sometimes they're handwriting out the addresses for people. It's requiring actual barcodes on all of these envelopes, and it takes months to work with vendors to make that happen. And so as a practical reality, it seems unlikely that this can happen in practice. I talked to one official today who represents elections officials across the state, and she said she doesn't know of any state that is prepared to implement this rule if it takes effect.
I have to tell you one thing that really stood out to me, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. That opinion that was written, it's unsigned. So, you know, it's a 6-3 ruling, but we don't know who actually wrote that opinion. Does that stand out to you at all?
These emergency orders, they are typically unsigned. We do know that the three liberal justices did sign dissents. So we do know that we don't actually know how many of the other conservative justices signed onto it. It's presumed that it's the other six and that all six signed onto it. But this is actually typical of an emergency order, that they are unsigned. They took a month to produce this ruling when the Trump administration was saying that time was of the essence and they were running out of time to do it. So it was strange to me that they took so long to produce this opinion, since it's going to come right back to them.
Yeah, interesting for sure. Diane Eisenbaum is a senior reporter with VOBI. We thank you so much for taking some time out to talk with us today.
Thank you. Take care.